Well, hey, y'all, welcome to the GI Justin channel. I am so glad that you're here. I am, as you can see, all smiles today because I just got confirmation that tomorrow we are going to be posting a video with an epic guest. I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about this person. All I'm going to tell you is A, he is so amazing. I've already decided that we will have a bourbon during the episode. And B, he is a true warrior and an American hero. And his story and what he has been able to accomplish from his time in the military is truly amazing. And I think you guys are going to be super excited to see him on the channel. We're going to do a Zoom video and have a chat and talk about all the amazing things. So super excited for that for tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that and make sure you're subscribing to the channel so you can check this thing out tomorrow because it is pretty cool. We're going to have a living legend on the channel tomorrow, so it's kind of exciting. But what I want to talk with you guys about until we get to tomorrow is kind of staying in what we've been talking about the last couple days, which is having a preparedness plan and doing so in a way that is not like you're seeing on a lot of these channels where, hey, yeah, you can get prepared. Just make sure you're setting aside $400,000 so you can buy nuclear chemical suits for your entire family and your dog. We're not doing that. It's not normal. So I just want to talk with you guys today about some of the tips, again, kind of in the line of what we've been talking about, that don't cost you anything, but are a great way to make sure that if there is a need of preparedness plan in the future, you're ready to go and you're all set for it. So let's kind of talk about it. So one of the things we always talk about when it comes to the preparedness situation is something they taught us in survival school. You can go 30 days without food, 4 days without water. Okay, let's make sure we got these things knocked out. So in terms of water, again, you want to start storing your water and stockpiling your water. And one of the interesting things that you can see is that people will use containers they have on hand to store water. And you really don't want to do that. If at all possible, the best way to store it is sealed. Either just going, super easy, and every time you go to Walmart, pick up a case of water and store it in a cool area. Keep it out of the sun, obviously, because you'll leach chemicals into the water. But what you don't want to do is use old jugs that you have, or use milk cartons. Milk cartons are bad because if you don't get them completely sterilized, there can be bacteria growing in your water while it's sitting there, and that's kind of gross. So that's really a big thing when it comes to the water that I think you really want to pay attention to. Another one, total side note, make sure you have enough bourbon. That's important to help survive. I'm just kidding, but we will have a sip. So moving right along, we get into the food, and we've talked previously in some of the episodes about ensuring that you have enough food. And it can be as simple as every time you go to the grocery store, again, when you get your water for your survival situation, grab a couple of cans of food. The best thing that in my opinion, is not necessarily stay straight with like cans of ravioli and cans of beef stew. Even those are great options. You also don't want your salt intake to be so high that you're getting high blood pressure on top of everything else you're dealing with, because the sodium content of those things is through the roof. So what you also want to consider in that same vein is buying things your family will eat. It's going to be a stressful enough situation. The last thing you need to be doing is yelling at your 10-year-old because she refuses to eat the survival food that you bought because she finds it disgusting. Make sure you're purchasing things that will kind of help keep their stress level down by being items that they're interested in eating, which is really a good thought, and something you may be missing when you're thinking about survival food preparation. And in that same token, consider your family's caloric intake when it comes to these things. We talked on a previous couple episodes, and I'm going to link them here up in the corner. We've talked about how long should you expect to stay in shelter in the event of a nuclear attack or these other situations. And I feel like 72 hours is the bare minimum, but 15 days should be the plan, because if the government hasn't figured it out on its way to 3 weeks, we may have larger problems. So consider that. If you've got 3 sons at home that are all teenagers who can eat through your entire house in one day, consider that when it comes to your survival plan, because stress eating is a thing. And, you'd really be bad to wake up and find out that one of your kids ate all of your food that you had stockpiled. So consider their caloric intake and what kind of food they typically like when it comes to making these choices. So really when it comes to food, that's really the big part of it. Again, you want to stay away from only, you know, the super high sodium foods. You can consider some canned fruits. Fruit is really a great thing to have as well because, you want to try as best you can to stay with a balanced diet. So try to incorporate, fruits, some of the no sodium vegetables that you can get, canned. Try to do those things as well, especially if you're considering hunkering down in your house for a significant amount of time. That's really a great option. Um, the next one is really obvious, but it's one I want to cover anyways. Make sure that you have a couple of different preparedness bags. People call them bug out bags. We're going to call them prep bags because the thing is, bug out, the idea of bug out in 90% of the universe means run away. And we're not planning on running away. We're planning on being prepared and having a plan. Big difference. So have a preparedness bag, if you're going to go on a trip with your family, have a bag that has, 72 hours worth of what you may need to survive. Or, you can look back at, I did a show about what my different prep bags look like. And that's one you can go back and watch if you want some ideas on what sort of things you can do. You can really go a lot of different directions. You can do different plan bags. You can do 1 day bag. If you're going to be gone overnight, you can do a 5 day. I mean, it really is as creative as you want to be. So, uh, a really funny one that I kind of think ties into this preparation is, again, go back and look at Corona and all these people that had all these prep plans and all these different things. Who would have guessed it was going to be run on toilet paper? No one. No one would have guessed toilet paper. But in a survival situation, having a bunch of toilet paper is not the worst thing on the planet because, the last thing you want to do is get yourself sick with one of the 100 diseases caused by poor sanitation and find yourself in an even worse spot than you already are. You want to, if absolutely necessary, get outside and dig yourself a slit trench and bury it all. I mean, the toilets may or may not function, but not having toilet paper is something you don't really want to be messing with. So that's something too, is have a little stockpile of toilet paper. I mean, one of those big racks of toilet paper from Costco or Sam's or whatever you've got around should last you theoretically as long as you would need to be in protection. So that's definitely a really good thing to have. And the next point is something I've tried to drive home several times. And this is not necessarily a free option, but a fairly cheap option. And that is teach your family and train with them in how you want to do this. Teach them what the plan is going to be, what you want to do, and what everybody's roles are going to be in this situation and train with them. I mean, it doesn't do a lot of good if you are very skilled at shooting and very skilled at all these things, but everyone else in your family has little to no knowledge. So get out there with them, teach them how to do all these things, teach them all the stuff I'm showing you on the channel, and help them learn and understand so that there is a division of labor if you ever need to be prepared in these ways to shelter in place or to stay mobile, as it were, where everybody can have a role and everybody can have a purpose. Because another thing, we talked about in the nuclear episode, managing stress is important, and a great way to manage stress is for everybody to have a job, everybody to have a task and a role that they have to accomplish. And if your 5-year-old daughter is standing next to you doing nothing but screaming the entire time, that's really going to pump up your stress level, I think. I know it would for me if I'm trying to make life and death decisions for the family. So, I mean, that's definitely something you want to do is train and teach and have a plan. And oddly enough, the next one is kind of funny. If you know what I do for a living right now, we don't talk about Fight Club. Don't talk about it. Rule number 1, don't talk about Fight Club. Uh, if you're planning and you are preparing for what possibly could come, unless it is somebody trusted and you're bringing them into the plan, don't tell people what you're doing. You make yourself a target. What if, you tell somebody it comes down to a survival situation and now they know what you have and what they don't have? You can get some really hurt feelings and some bad animosity from someone who may be interested in taking what you have. And that is stress that that you just don't need. You want to avoid attention and avoid drawing the spotlight to yourself to say, "Hey, I got tons of ammo at the house. I've got all these cool guns. I've got, enough food for 2 months. Um, who wants to come try to take it?" I mean, a lot better is just if it gets to that level to, hunker down on your own and look just like everybody else, just trying to get by. Where in reality, you've been watching the channel and you're set up and good to go for the next 15 days, which you should be. Um, so relaying back to training your family and teaching your family, and I have harped on this thing and we're going to keep doing it because you may or may not have done it yet, but have that plan, have that no communications plan where your family knows what to do if this event we're unaware of at the moment happens, where they're all going to go and how you're going to get everybody together. Um, Make the plan, train them. Hey, if this goes down, here's what you're going to do. No matter where you are, I want you to assess the situation, determine if getting home is feasible, and here's where you need to go if it's not feasible. So that's the big one. And I think the final one, more than anything, in my opinion, and it's something we kind of did in combat in terms of training, is train in this situation for generality. We don't know what the situation is going to be. We don't know what the event that will cause this is going to be, sending us into shelter or requiring us to stay in place. But what we can do is base our plan off of the two generalities we could see, which would be A, what is the most dangerous thing that can happen? Okay, obviously that's probably aliens and nuclear attack. So, you've got aliens and nuclear attack. All right, well, if it's that bad, what are we going to do? How are we going to prepare? What's the plan? And then the second one is the enemy's most likely course of action. So, what do we think are the things that we could face? For me in Florida, it's hurricane, and in other parts of the country, tornadoes, avalanches if you're, way out in the frigid Northwest out there, any of these number of things. But think about what the most likely thing you're going to face is. So plan for the worst and plan for the most likely. And I think those points, along with what we've talked about the last couple of days, if you can utilize these things and apply them both, where you're thinking worst case, most likely, and then applying these very cost-effective methods for how you can ensure that you're as prepared for whatever may be coming as you can be, then you'll be in a really great place as best you possibly can in the event that something happens. So to recap, all this stuff is very cost effective. Go ahead and start your planning. Go ahead and start picking up, a case of water now and there and store it somewhere cool where it's not gonna, get all hot and leach stuff into your water, and buy a couple of cans of food that your family will eat, taking into account, that you have 5 teenage sons who can eat 500 pounds of food each. All these things, take all of them together and just start applying them. They're very low cost, and over time you can create a really nice stockpile and have a very good plan where your family knows what to do. You've trained them in what their tasks will be, and everybody's set up and good to roll. So that's really the lion's share of what I want to talk to you guys about today. Again, tomorrow's going to be a big one. Super cool. So I'm really excited. Like I said, go ahead and hit subscribe so that as soon as I drop this video tomorrow, you guys aren't going to miss it. So it'll be really, really cool. Thank you guys so much for watching the GI Justin channel, and I hope you have an awesome afternoon.